If you are thinking how to monetize AI, I'm going to show you how to build your own AI API in order to get some passive income. Our AI API is going to essentially help us make money from generative AI, and we are going to build it using OpenAI and JavaScript and host it on Zuplo in order to take payments for it. Our AI API is going to generate us a haiku. Now, this idea is just for fun and to show you how to build and monetize an AI generative API. If you want an actual business idea, you're out of luck. That part is going to be up to you. So what are we waiting for? This is what the finished API will look like. Okay, you need an API key in order to access it. We have added 3 payment tiers that we connected to via Stripe. And then this great documentation that we can share will be generated for us. This tutorial is for super beginners, and I'll be taking everything step by step. But if you have questions, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Okay, so let's do it. So first off, I'm going to sign up to Zuplo, which is the tool we're going to use to actually take money from our API, so monetize it. So please go ahead and start for free, or if you already have an account like me, I'm just going to log in. So I'm going to choose to log in, and I can do so with my Google account. And once you have logged in, you will also see your dashboard. So in my dashboard, you will see I already have a project in here. We're going to create a new project completely from scratch. So please go ahead and select this option. And I'm going to call it something. Yes, I am. I'm going to call it Anya Haiku API and create project. So great. This is going to be a fun one. We're essentially going to use this to add a payment gateway with Stripe. So a lot of cool features are going to be utilized in this tutorial. Here we have the developer portal as well, which is going to be pre-configured with all our documentation for our API. So it's kind of taken all the work for me, as well as the gateway. So this is now my unique URL to essentially work with throughout this tutorial. So first off, I think we should write some roots. Okay, so the root to get a haiku essentially. So let's go ahead and do that. And in order to do that, we're going to have to write some code. So let's go ahead and write some super basic code to essentially get our haiku from OpenAI. We're going to write this in Node.js, and I think it's only going to be around 40 lines of code. So let's do it. I'm going to get up my code editor of choice. So this is WebStorm. Please go ahead and use your own code editors or whichever one you are comfortable with. And let's go ahead and create a new project. So make sure to make this an empty project because, like I said, this is going to be super basic. Let's just call this Anya Haiku API. Just like so, and it's got nothing in here, okay? It's got nothing in here. We're gonna add one index.js file, one package.json file, and one .env file for keeping all of our secrets, like our OpenAI API key. So let's get up our terminal. Now, a prerequisite of this is that you do need to have Node.js and NPM installed, so please go ahead and do that if you don't have those down. Now, make sure you are in Anya Haiku API, okay, and just go ahead and do npm init. This npm init will essentially ask you lots of questions like your package name, your version, your description. I'm just keeping all of these generic, okay, and this will essentially spin up a package.json file for you. So you will see those are the generic questions it asked me, and the generic answers I accepted. It has said that it's going to read the index.js file, but we don't have one. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to copy this just to make sure I'm spelling it correctly and create a new file. And there we go. So this is the file it's going to read. We are going to have to write a script for this. So I'm going to write start. It's the start script. And we are going to listen out for change on the index.js. We want to listen out continuously for changes, which is why I'm going to use Node.js, which is listen out for continuous changes, not just read the page or the script once. So let's go ahead and install this package so that we can use it. I'm going to do npm I Node.js. So this is now installing that package along with its version, as you will see here in the dependency. So this, at the current time of recording, is the version of Node.js we're using. If you're watching this in the future and something doesn't work, so for example, if you're seeing like a 4 and something isn't working, just change it back to 3 and do npm I to reinstall that dependency. Okay, but we don't have to do anything because we're in the present. So this is the version of Node.js I'm going to use. And now, what do we need to do? Well, we've written a start script, but how do we know anything's working? We can essentially write some code to let us know that it's working and listening out for changes. And in order to do that, we need to define the port as well. So listening out for changes on what, right? I'm going to, yep, sure, we can listen out for if there is a secret variable port first. Otherwise, we just listen out to changes on port 8000. Okay, so that's what I'm going to choose. Maybe let's make this capital 2. And I'm now going to use another package. It's the package Express, which is going to help us to listen out for those changes. So let's go ahead and install that package as well, Express. While we're here, we should also install the .env package, which will help us store secret variables, okay, as a secret, such as our OpenAI API key, as I mentioned, and also the OpenAI package, of course. So those 3, please go ahead and install this. Once again, you should see them show up here along with the version. Same applies to the version if something isn't working in the future. Okay, so now that we've got Express and we've saved it to the const Express, I can get Express and release all of its wonderfulness, all of its methods and properties that come with it. Let's save this under the const app. And now, once they are saved on the const app, I can get app and get all those methods and properties. So one of the methods I want to use is the listen method. Thank you, tab9, for suggesting that code. I like it. It is good for me. So now, let's go ahead and run this, right? npm run start, because start is the command I wrote. Listening on port 8000, listening on port 8000. And if I make a change, so if I just go like that and save, it's restarted and listening out for constant changes, as you will see. So this is great. Now, the simplest route I can write in here is app get, and great. So if we go to the home page, or essentially the root of localhost 8000, I could say hello world. Maybe let's do something like welcome to my Haiku API. Okay, and maybe let's make this JSON, as I'll be working with JSON later. I want to make it consistent. So now this just means that if I visit localhost 8000, it says, welcome to my Haiku app. Pretty cool, right? So let's go ahead and write another route. I'm just going to copy this. And let's say that if we visit Haiku, it's going to say, this is my Haiku. So save that. And now if we visit /Haiku, this is my Haiku. Well, if I write something else like Anya, it will say this because Anya does not exist here. So just keep that in mind. It has to be spelled exactly the same. Great. Of course, we don't want just some text. We actually want a haiku to be generated. And for that, we're going to work with OpenAI. So let's go ahead and get the method of OpenAI from OpenAI. Right, there we go. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller for now. So I'm going to actually put this in curly braces so we can write this on a new line. First things first, I think we should actually start communicating with OpenAI. And for that, we need to pass through our OpenAI API key. So we're going to do new OpenAI, and we're going to pass through the API key, which thanks to process env, I can store in a .env file. And for this to work, this won't work at all unless you have the .env package installed and you do require .env config. So this will not work without that. And this essentially allows us to look in a .env file. So let's make one. And it looks for this. So make sure that's spelled exactly the same. That's why I'm copying it, okay, because I don't want to make any mistakes. And now we're going to put in our OpenAI API key. So let's go back here. I'm just going to head over to OpenAI. And I'm just going to log in. and I'm going to get my API key. So I'm going to select API, and then under API keys, I'm going to create a new key. I'm going to go demo API, create it, copy it, and simply paste it in here. Okay, so that is my secret key. Please don't use mine. Go get your own. I'll be disabling this soon. So great. There we go. And this was essentially looking in the .env file, and that lives in here. Great. So now that we've passed through, perhaps maybe let's put this on a new line. We can put this like so, okay. I'm going to save this to the const OpenAI. Once again, let's just get rid of that so we can see everything a bit better. So now that we essentially have allowed us access to use OpenAI and its features by passing through an API key, I'm going to write a try and catch so that we can make that call. So we're going to console error any errors. So you can write it like this just to make it a little bit less confusing. Those two are the same, and that is the method. Great. So now I'm going to await OpenAI, and I'm going to use chat from it, completions dot create, and then we are going to make an object. The await keyword is used here, which means we need to make this an async function. I'm just going to make that bigger for you. And we're going to pass through messages, just like so. There's going to be an array. The first object, well, we're only going to pass through one object, to be fair. I'm just copying the documentation for this about how it should look, the role of system, and the content of, right, a haiku. We're not very friendly. We're very demanding. So that is my messages. Like I say, it's just one object in that array. And we're going to find the model. Now, I think I do pay for GPT-4. Again, like if you don't, just use one of the other models, but I do pay for it. So I'm going to pass through the GPT-4 model into here. And then we're just going to console log what comes back to us. Now, I already know what comes back as in the object, because I've read the documentation, I've used this many times. Let's save the result of this to completion. So let's grab the completion. And in fact, maybe let's just console log all of this out now, just so you can see what is going on. And then let's get that here. I'm going to comment that out for now. So that is my whole get request. Okay, let's check it out. So I need to visit this endpoint, right? So all I'm going to do, let's get rid of this now, let's get rid of this, is just visit haiku. And now go back here and check it out. So this is the whole completion, this whole object. I need to get that object and go to choices, message. So I can use dot notation to get choices. This is an array. So we're going to go into the array and get the first item and get message. So that's all I'm doing here. What did I say? We need to go into dot choices. Choices is an array, and we want to get the first item. So that's what we do. And then we get the message. Okay, so now if I refresh this again and have a look, ta-da, that's what comes back to us. That is the message as a role and the content. So moonlight on the pond, silent ripples touch the shore, night whispers it's long. This is the haiku it wrote. If I just want to get the content from this object, once again, dot notation to work with objects, content. And if I refresh once more, we just get the haiku. So pretty cool. And of course, I can send that over. So instead of saying this is my haiku, I can actually get the haiku and show it in the browser. So save this, once again, refresh, and ta-da, there it is. So great, this is looking good. However, I don't want anyone to be able to access this, right? Because I'm using GPT-4, I'm paying for it. I don't want people to just keep using it and taking up all my tokens. So I'm gonna add a secret to this, my own secret that I own, that only I will know, no one else. This is not for the end user or anything like that. So what I can do, let's just make this a little bit smaller, and I can attach that secret to a header, which lives on the request. Okay, so here, so let's just get all the headers, headers, and I can use request headers just to save that under auth headers. And if I just want to get one of them, so if auth headers, let's say I choose to call it secret key does not equal, and then I'm going to write something like super secret key. So this is my password, my own, not for anyone else. Doesn't need to be unique, only I know it and I'm in charge of it. Okay, so if it does not equal that, I'm just going to send res JSON. Let's send a message, sure, why not? Message, you are not authorized to make this request. That is good. And then I'm just going to return out of this so it doesn't go to the next stuff, right? Cool. Yeah, doesn't bother doing that. Okay, so that's really it. That's all I am going to do. Maybe let's get rid of this console log now. We don't need it. I'm just going to tidy up this code a little bit. So code, we format code, and great. There's one. Here's the other. Okay, so now what I need to do is essentially, so instead of, visiting here, if I visit this, it says, you are not authorized to make the request because we did not add a secret key to the header. I'm going to actually deploy this onto the internet using Heroku. I'm using Heroku just because I like Heroku and I'm familiar with it, but you can use whatever you wish. So in order to do this, I'm actually going to go ahead and visit Heroku. So there we go. Here is Heroku. My account currently only has one thing in here, so I'm going to create a new app. Let's call it Haiku API. And I'm just going to suggest Europe. Maybe let's go with app and then create app. Okay, great. So now, if you haven't used Heroku before, make sure to have the Heroku command line interface installed. All you have to do is follow these instructions. I am using a Mac, so just go ahead and copy this and then get up your terminal, and I'm just going to make this bigger for you. I'm actually going to head over to my project, so head over to WebStorm projects and then go to Ania Haiku API and then just do brew tap Heroku. Now I've already installed this, so mine is going to be super quick, but yours might take some time. Great. So now we can go back. So once we've installed that command line interface, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. So we've already gone to that project, so that is done. We're going to initialize a Git repository, so git init. Okay, so that's done. Next, we're going to do Heroku git remote and then the name of my app. So please change it if yours is different. But I think Heroku would have populated that for you, so you can't go wrong just by copying and pasting. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and do git add to add all these files right here that you see here, okay, to our project. I'm going to do git commit and add a message. So git commit am and then some text. So am, I'm going to do added files, I guess, because that's what we did. And then I'm going to do git push Heroku master, but I'm going to change mine to main. Okay? So there we go. We're now going to wait for this to do its thing, and essentially, instead of now using localhost 8000, we can, just going to open up a new tab, use the Heroku URL instead. So we'll just wait a little bit longer, and this should now any second be done. Ta-da! We've got our unique Heroku URL. I'm going to paste it in here like so. And if we visit this, it says, welcome to my Haiku API. And if I visit Haiku, it will say, you are not authorized to make this request. Because, of course, we haven't passed in our secret key without auth headers, okay? Which we've hard-coded to be super secret key. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to put this in a .env file later on. I'm just making this super readable for you now. Okay, so we're kind of done here. We are now going to have to essentially disguise this URL to give it a Zuplo URL and then add monetization as well as a Zuplo API to this, as well as pass through our own secret, our own password that we made, which is super secret key, that it has nothing to do with the end user, okay? This is just ours. Okay, so keep it super secret. If it leaks for whatever reason, you can also change it here. Again, nothing to do with the API key for the end user at all. Great. So let's do it. Okay, so back on here now, we're going to add some roots. We're going to add a root. Let's do the most basic one first. So this one right here. And all you're going to do is essentially, let's go back here, and this is the root that we want to disguise with a Zuplo URL. So let's go ahead and rename it. I'm just going to make it look like this, and the URL rewrite is going to be that. So now I'm going to save this, keep everything else the same, and once that is saved, we can also test it. So if I click test, you will see the response, welcome to my Haiku app. So that is done. That was really easy. Let's make another one. So this one, you can make it Haiku, you can make it V1 Haiku. It is totally up to you. The URL for this is of course going to be Haiku. Okay, so that is looking good. I'm going to paste that in here. And of course, we can rename this as well. So get your AI generated haiku. Make sure this is URL rewrite. Paste that in like so and hit save. Okay, so wait for that to do its thing and test. So now we test it and we should get the same message back. You are not authorized to make this request. Now I can pass through the headers, so let's go back to our code. The header is secret key, so we can do this here, secret key, super secret key, just like that, and test. And we get a haiku. However, we don't want to have to do this here all the time, okay? We can actually write a policy that will essentially add this behind the scenes. So I'm going to add the policy, add or set request headers. The name of this is going to be the same as here, secret key, and the value of this is going to be super secret key. Okay, and we're going to save this, so save it. So that policy is now saved, okay, and that just means I can test this now without having to put that in. I don't have to share it to any end user, okay? So they won't even know that that's happening behind the scenes. Again, this has nothing to do with the end user. It's just for me, it's like a password, okay, to make this work. Great. I will also be showing you how to hide this in the environment variables on the platform as well, but we'll do that at the end. Let's just get this working first. So now that we have done that, we also want to add a way to essentially add a Zuplo API key for when it comes to charging people for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that and put it up here. And we're also going to have to add monetization. So go ahead and add that too, just with all its generic configuration. So let's go ahead and do that. And once again, hit save. Okay, great. So that's now doing its thing. The next thing we need to do, so I'm going to go ahead, let's get rid of this localhost now. I'm going to go ahead and check out the developer portal because this, as we were writing, would have essentially been updated with all of this. So for example, you know, the roots as well as the root names. So let's just go ahead and put home, save, and go to the dev portal, click on developer portal here, And this is essentially the documentation that you can share with your users. So my Zuplo API, we're going to set up authentication. We've got a new route here, so that should be updated to home soon. It's got some lorem ipsum here, and get your AI generated haiku. And of course, you can test it. So this is something we're going to have to essentially set up in order to test. But at the moment, it says unauthorized because we haven't set up authorization, Zuplo authorization and payments via Stripe. So let's do that next. I'm just going to keep this up here and let's go here. So the dev portal, I think you can, of course, add your page settings. So for example, Anya's haiku API. You can really go to town on this, and I do really recommend doing that. Just keep everything else here the same, add require authentication, and add monetization settings as well. So we're going to be using Stripe. In order to do that, we need to essentially fill these three things out. So save this for now, and I'm going to head over to Stripe. So my Stripe account. So here it is, and I've already logged in. So I'm going to head over to my dashboard and just make sure that you've got test mode on. So test mode is on. You will see test mode here. That is important. I think the first thing we can do is add some products. So I'm going to go ahead. As you can see, I've already done so here, but let's go ahead and do it once more. I'm going to go with paid options. You can have a free one. I'll put it in here for demo purposes. But of course, if people are using my OpenAI API key and that's costing me money, I wouldn't really want a free tier. But, you know, for now, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to say free haikus, free haiku. We'll charge nothing and we'll make the billing monthly. So add product just like so. So free haiku is here. And then I'm going to add maybe a server level haiku member. Let's charge £10 for this monthly. Okay, add product. And let's also add a gold level haiku member. And this one is 50. Okay, crazy. So let's add that. And now what we want to do is create a pricing table. So I'm going to create a pricing table. We're going to add some products. We'll add the free haiku. We're also going to add the silver haiku and the gold level haiku. Now you can also edit this further. So you can have a description, but of course I will leave that up to you. And you can also limit how many calls you can have. I'm just going to continue with this for now. This is a preview of the payment page and amazing. I'm going to finish this at the moment. So that is now done. You're going to need all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get the pricing ID and stick it in here. Let's also get the publishable key and stick it in here. So save this, and the secret key we're going to get from somewhere else. So in order to get your API key, I'm just going to go API key here. So I've searched for it, and you need to get your secret key. So making sure you are in test mode. So I'm just going to copy this one right here and just get rid of that and put this as an environment variable this time. So under settings, under environment variables, add a variable, and the value I'm going to place here, and I'm going to do Stripe API key. Okay, and I'm going to make this secret. So go ahead and save that. Great. So this is looking good. Let's go back to our developer portal settings. So now back in here, I can do, that's right, like this, making sure that Stripe API key is what we use because that's what we called it. So $ENV in order to access the environment variables, and just hit save. Great. We have one more thing to do, and that is actually add a runtime extension. So just under modules, hit runtime extension after, of course, saving this file. And in Zuplo runtime, we're going to have to put in some code in here. So let's go to Zuplo documentation. Okay, monetization, and then in here you should get the code for this. So we've already set up the developer portal. Okay, so we've done all this, configure subscription events. And here you will find the code that you need. So just copy that, go back here, and paste it like so. And of course, we need two more things. We already have the Stripe secret key, which we called Stripe API key, I believe. So save this, and we're also going to have to get the Stripe webhook signing secret. So save Stripe API key, Stripe webhook signing secret. Under setting environment variable, we've got the Stripe API key. We're also going to add the Stripe webhook signing secret. So once again, let's go back to Stripe, making sure you are in the test mode, and we're going to just search for webhook. Okay, and then developer webhooks. We're going to add an endpoint. Now the endpoint for this, so once again, let's go back to the portal and go back to the documentation here. It's telling us what this should look like. It should look like this. So I'm going to copy that, paste that in, and replace this with my own, which is this. So just copy that and replace it like so. Wonderful. So that really is it. We just need to select some events. One is customer subscription created, deleted, and we're also going to go with updated. So add those three events. They are here if you want to see them, and add the endpoint. And this should essentially create a sign-in secret here. So just go ahead and copy that and then paste it in here as a value and keep it a secret. So we've done that. We are nearly done. Let's go back to code. Another thing we're going to have to do is add some metering services under services. So let's configure this. And essentially, we're going to create a plan. We can call this whatever we wish. So I'm going to call this free haiku tier. And then we're going to link the product to this. So let's go ahead and get up the test mode of Stripe. Let's get the product catalog. Let's find the free haiku. Let's copy this ID. And I'm just going to paste that in like so. So here again, we can have requests. And I can say we only get 10 free requests. Maybe let's make it smaller. Let's get 2 free requests. Okay, let's do 10. It's up to you. Again, this is just a demo. And I'm going to essentially create a plan. So that is one plan. We have the free haiku tier. Let's add another plan. This is going to be the silver haiku tier. Again, we're going to have to get the ID to it. So let's go back to the product catalog and get the silver haiku tier and copy its ID and paste it in like so. Let's go with the requests. And with silver, let's say you get 100. Sure. And then let's create another plan. This is going to be the gold haiku tier. Once again, requests. And with this one, you get 5,000. And once again, let's get the ID for this. So let's go back to here, get the gold level haiku member and copy its ID. And we should be done. Let's create that plan. So there we go. We have 3. This is looking good. And now I think let's try it out. So I'm going to go back to the developer portal and just refresh this. And once you have refreshed it, you should see pricing show up here. And it does. If you select pricing, you can subscribe to one of these. I'm going to go ahead and just try the free version. Okay, it will ask you for some card details, but as we are in test mode for Stripe, if I do 4242424242, and then just put a date in the future, so like 2027, 123, then it should work, okay, because that is just the test card for the demo of Stripe. So I'm going to hit subscribe, and it's just waiting for our subscription to be confirmed, and it is. So now we have an API key. This is looking good. And if I go back to the docs for my Zuplo API, okay, I can go ahead and test this out. So you will see my API key has already been put in there for me, as well as the authorization header. And if I click on test, we will get a haiku. So great, I've just added payment plans to my API. Okay, so this is looking pretty cool. The docs are great. You can of course share these with everyone. Please do flesh them out. Once someone has signed in like I have and paid for something, then they will be able to get an API key. If they haven't paid for any of the 3 packages that I've made, they won't get an API key. Of course, the free one allows me 10 requests. And if I paid for the other ones, then I get more. So amazing, this is looking good. Of course, the home one, we could just test that without anything because we don't require that. But amazing, this is looking so, so good. Okay, now if you do want to hide your super secret key here, of course you can do that. I'm going to show you how. You would just put it in the .env file. What should we call this? I'm going to go with Zuplo's API key equals, and then I'm going to put super secret key. Okay, so save that, and once again, to access this, we need to go and replace this with process env and then Zuplo's super secret key, and then we need to commit these files again. So git add, luckily I didn't shut this down, git commit hid key, git push Heroku main. So there we go. I mean, it kind of does. This is a demo. I wouldn't suggest committing that super secret key if you wanted to keep it secret. So if you did that before, maybe change it now. And once that is done, we're just going to wait for that to do its thing. But in the meantime, I can also in here go back to settings, environment variable, add variable, Zuplo's API key for secret key. Keep this a secret. Again, I'm just using super secret key again. So now it should show up as Zuplo's API key here. And if we want to get it in our code, so in our code, where do we use it? We use it in a policy on the set headers inbound. I can use $env and then Zuplo's API key and save it. And now that is hidden. And if someone gets hold of your API key, the secret one, you could just, change it in here as well as change it in here and redeploy your code. So amazing. I hope this has been super, super useful. I really enjoyed teaching you this. I love it. Please let me know what you think below. Hopefully I've covered everything. So if you do have any questions, then please do let me know. Of course, if you want to test this out again to check if it works. And it does. Amazing. See you soon.